Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, I will be showing you how I made this crochet tank top. In this video, I will be making a size small to medium. If that's something you're interested in, please keep watching and we'll get right into the tutorial. For this project, I'm using this lightweight yarn that I picked up on AliExpress. I'll put a link to this yarn in the description box down below. You can use whatever yarn you have available, doesn't matter, but with this yarn I'm using my 4mm crochet hook. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so to begin, you are going to make a loop and chain 12. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. You're going to skip the first 3 chains from the hook. So that's 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th you're going to put 1 double crochet. Okay, so with this 3 chain over here, that counts as 2 stitches. So now you're going to chain 2, and in that same 4th chain right there, you're going to put another 2 double crochets, and that will form our first V-stitch, like so. Okay, and then again we're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th you're going to put 2 double crochets. So that's 1 and 2. Then chain 2 and 2 more double crochets, all in that same space. 1 and 2. All right, and again skip 3 spaces, three chains, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th you're going to put 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all in that same last chain space, and that will be our final V-stitch. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, all in that same space. 1 and 2. Now to begin the next round, chain 1, turn the work around. You're going to slip stitch into that first stitch, slip stitch into the second, slip stitch into that chain 2 space, and that is where our round 2 will begin. So we're going to start with a chain of 3, which counts as our first double crochet. Now 1 more double crochet in that chain 2 space, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, all in that same space. 1 and 2, and that's our first V. So into the next chain 2 space of our previous V stitch, we're going to make another V. So it's 2 double crochets in that same chain 2 space, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, all in that one space, that chain 2 space. And now the third one, which is our final, we repeat the same thing. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, all in that same space. And now you're going to chain 1, slip stitch in each stitch all the way to the chain 2 space, and you will repeat the same thing. Okay, so let me just get over to the chain 2 space. So you will chain 3, 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, all in that same space. 1 and 2. Okay, so right now we have 2 rows completed. You will do this for a total of 4 rows. So go ahead and finish row 3 and row 4, and then I'll meet you and we'll move on from there. Okay, so I have my 4 rows completed, and now for row 5, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, slip stitch in the first stitch, slip stitch into the second, slip stitch into the chain 2 space, and chain 3, and 1 double crochet in that chain 2 space, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, all in that same space. Okay, and the only difference in row 5 is that after each V-stitch we're gonna add a chain 1. So chain 1, then work the next V-stitch, which is the same, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all in that chain 2 space of the previous round. And then chain 1 and work the final V-stitch. So that is the only change for round 5. Whoops, my thread is getting caught. Okay, so 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all in that same space. Now moving on to round 6, chain 1, slip stitch your way back to the chain 2 space, and then we will begin with our 3 chains, then 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochets to begin round 6. Okay, and in round 6 the change here will be, instead of 1 chain, we're gonna do 2. So for round 6 we're gonna do V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch. So go ahead and finish round 6 and then we'll go on. Okay, so now to begin round 7, I've already done my first V-stitch because that is going to remain the same moving forward from here. Okay, so once you have your V-stitch done, now you're going to chain 3, 2 and 3, and in that center V-stitch we are going to put 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Now chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, all in that same center V. So here's what we have: 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. So we have 6 double crochets with 2 chain 2s between, like so. And this is round 7. Okay, and then we're gonna work our last V-stitch. So you're gonna chain 3 and work the final V-stitch on this side. So that's 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And then we'll do row 8, which is chain 1, turn your work, slip stitch all the way to the chain 2 space. Okay. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Work your first V-stitch. 2 and 1 and 2. And now we will chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so in this first V-stitch, in this first chain 2 space, we're going to work a V-stitch. So 1, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And as you may notice, we are increasing as we go along. Okay, now you're going to chain 2 and work another V-stitch in that next chain 2 space. So that's 1, 2 double crochets, chain 2 and 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and now chain. We're doing the last stitch, so it's chain 3 and work your last V-stitch right there. Okay, so go ahead and finish your last V-stitch, and then for the next row, which would be row 9, make your first V-stitch and then we'll go on. Okay, so row 9 is going to start the same as every other row with your V-stitch and chain 3. Row 9 is going to be the exact same thing as row 8. So you're going to work a V-stitch in each V-stitch all the way across. So it is 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in that first chain 2 space. Chain 2 and 2 double crochets into the next chain 2 space. Oops. Chain 2 and 2 more double crochets all in that same space. And then for your last V, you're always going to chain 3 and work the final V-stitch. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you at the beginning of row 10. Okay, for row 10, I've already done my first V-stitch and chain 3. Okay, so next I will work another V-stitch in the chain 2 space of the previous V-stitch. So that is 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets all in that chain 2 space. 1 and 2. Now I will chain 2, and in that chain 2 space of the previous round, I'm going to put 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 more double crochet. Just like so. Okay, now chain 2 and work the next 2 V-stitches. So you will work 1 V-stitch here, chain 3, and your final V-stitch. So go ahead and do that, and also start the first V-stitch of row 11, and then we'll move on. Okay, so starting row 11, first V-stitch and chain 3 already done. Moving on, we're going to make a V-stitch in the next chain 2 space of the previous V-stitch. So it is always 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, all in that space. And now we'll chain 2 in that single V-stitch that we have here. We're going to make a V-stitch, a complete V-stitch. So 2 double crochets, chain 2 and 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Now chain 2, and you should have it from here. Okay, so you'll chain, after you chain 2, you make your next V-stitch right there, then chain 3 and make your final V-stitch. Okay, and then make your first V-stitch for round 12, and then we'll move on. Okay, so for round 12, I've started my first V and chain 3. Round 12 is going to be the exact same thing as round 11. So you're going to put a V-stitch in the first V-stitch, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, chain 3, and 1 in the last one. And you know, between each V-stitch in the center, you'll have chain 2. So V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch. So go ahead and complete row 12, and then we'll go on. Okay, so for row 13, we are going to be increasing in these 3 points, 1, 2, and 3. All right, so I've done my first V and my chain 3. Okay, so for in the first V-stitch, I'm going to start in that double crochet before the chain 2 space. So I'm going to put 1 double crochet into that first double crochet before the chain 2, and then in the chain 2 space I'm going to put 2 double crochets, and then chain 2, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm going to do my 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space, then 1 in that first double crochet for a total of 3. So you see I have 3 stitches over on this side and 3 on this side, and the chain 2 in the center. Okay, and now I'm going to chain 2, and I'll show that to you again. So the stitch, not the first stitch, but the second stitch, or the first one from the chain 2 space, I'll put 1 double crochet, then 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space, then chain 2, and I'll start with the chain with 2 double crochets in that space. So now I'm working the opposite side, so I'm going backwards pretty much, but doing the same thing I did on this side. So 2 double crochet in the chain 2 space, then 1 in that first double crochet for a total of 3. All right, and then chain 2, and just I'll show you again for this round. So 1 double crochet in that double crochet before the chain 2 space, 1, then 2 in the chain 2 space, then chain 2, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, then 1 in that first double crochet, then chain 3, and work that last double crochet. Okay, so before I work that last double crochet, I just want to make sure you understand. It's pretty simple, but so instead of just 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, we have 1 double crochet in the stitch before, and then 2 on either side of the chain 2 space. So now instead of 2 stitches as the previous round, we now have 3. I hope that was simple enough for you. Alright, so go ahead and work the last V-stitch of this round, and also the first V-stitch and chain 3 of round 14, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so round 14 is another increase round. So seeing how we have 3 stitches here, for the next round we're going to have 4. So you know you're going to put 2 in here. So we will start with the second stitch here. So we'll add 2 in, 1 in each of these 2 stitches, and 2 here for a total of 4. I hope that made sense. If not, let me demonstrate. Okay, so we'll skip the first stitch. We'll make 1 double crochet in that second double crochet of the previous round, another in that second one or third one, whichever, then 2 in the chain 2 space, which gives us a total of 4 stitches. So previous round had 3, now we have 4. Okay, now chain 2, and we'll start with 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, 1 in that first stitch, the first double crochet of the previous round, 1 in the second, and that gives us a total of 4 on that side also. Now chain 2, and we're going to repeat the same thing in this V-stitch and this V-stitch. So skip the first stitch, 1 double crochet in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the chain 2 space, and chain 2, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, one in the first stitch, one in the second, skip the last one, chain 2, and repeat. Okay, so I will leave you to do this one. So you will skip the first stitch, one in each of these 2 stitches, 2 in the chain 2, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and then 1 and 2 in the next 2, skip the last one, chain 3, and finish the last V. So go ahead and complete this round, start round 15, and then we'll continue. All right, round 15. We are going from 4 stitches to 5. So we're going to skip the first stitch and start in the second. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And then 2 stitches, 2 double crochets in that chain 2 space, chain 2, 2 double crochets in that chain 2 space, 1 and 2, and now 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches and skip the last double crochet. So we skip the last one, so you should have 5 on each side of the chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And chain 2, and you will do the same thing on this side. So skip the first one, do 3 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches. Then 2 in the chain 2 space, 1 and 2, chain 2, 2 double crochets, then 1 in each of the next 3 stitches for a total of 5. 1, 2, and 3. Skip the last one and chain 2. Okay, and then you will repeat the same thing for this section, then chain 3 and do your last V stitch. So go ahead and do that, and also do your first V of row 16, and then we'll continue. All right guys, so starting row 16, I've already done my first V stitch and chain 3. In row 15 we did 5 double crochets in these three sections right here. For row 16 we are also going to do 5. So before, when we had 4, we skipped 1 to increase to 5. Because we are staying with 5, we will skip 2 and work in the next 3, then 2 in the 2 in the chain 2 space for a total of 5. So that's 1, 2, and 3 into those 3 double crochets before the chain 2 space, then 2 double crochets into the chain 2 for a total of 5. Now chain 2 and repeat, going the opposite direction. So we'll start with 2 into the chain 2 space, then 1 in each of the next 3 stitches for a total of 5 on this side. 1, 2, 3, whoops, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now chain 2, skip the last 2 stitches, skip the next 2 on this side, and work into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th stitch of this side, then 2 in here for a total of 5. All right, so go ahead and work your 5 stitches on this side, this in this section, chain 3 and work your last V stitch, and then we'll move on from that point. All right, so I've completed row 16, and at this point I am just going to pull up a loop and cut off my thread, because at this point I am done with this side for now. Okay, so what this is, what you want this to measure, is this. Okay, so this is the section that you are making. So you want to make sure that this piece from your shoulder should reach to the center of your chest at one edge. So at one point, at this point over here, it should be hitting center chest, and then this edge over here should be directly under your armpits, just like this. Okay, so the next step after this would be to turn your work around, and we're gonna start working in this direction. So we'll be mimicking what we did on this side on the opposite side, so that when we're done we have 2 pieces, a back and a front. All right, so I'll just go ahead and attach my yarn. Okay, and just pull up a loop, and I'll attach my yarn just right on the edge right here. Then slip stitch into the center point right there. Okay. Now chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then 1 double crochet into that center point. Chain 2. Then 2 double crochets, all in that same space. I'm just repeating what we did on the other side, but I'm just showing you how to begin, like so. Okay, then the next one will go in this center point, right where the stitches from the previous round are, in that same space. Okay, so again, it is 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all in the same space. And in the last space right there, repeat. Chain 2 and 2 double crochets. Then chain 1, turn your work, and slip stitch in each stitch all the way to the chain 2 space. Chain 3 and work your first V stitch. 1 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all in that same space, like so. And then move on to the next one and work your second V stitch. And then your last. 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Okay, so right now I only added 2 rows. So what you would have to do now is you can back up the video and start over, just so you have something to follow along with. So you would do your 4 rows and then pick up from where the video left off when we first started this side. Okay, so go ahead and complete this side to look exactly like this side, and then we will move on from there. Okay guys, so now I have completed both sides. So yours should look something like this. And this is only 1/2, well, 1 shoulder. So what you'll need to do now is to make another one exactly like this. And this works up pretty fast, so I'm gonna go ahead and make mine, and once I have both shoulders done, then we'll move on from there. Okay guys, so I have both shoulders completed, and the next step will be to attach both pieces together so it becomes one. So I will be working on this side since I still have my thread, my working end attached here. I'll start working from here. So let's get started. So we will start pretty much the same as before. So I'll chain 1, slip stitch my way to the chain 2 space, and then once in the chain 2 space, chain 3 and work my first V. So 1 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Okay. Next, I will chain 3. And where we left off, we had 5 stitches here. We are going to be increasing to 6. So I'm going to skip 1 and work 1 in each of the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space. 1 and 2. Now chain 2 and 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space. Then 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches for a total of 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that makes 6 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now chain 2 and work the other side. So you will skip 1, work 1 double crochet in each of the next 4, then 2 in the chain 2 space, chain 2, 2 more in the chain 2 space, and continue. Okay, so go ahead and work your 6 stitches on either side of the chain 2 in this panel and in this panel, then chain 3 and work your last V stitch on that side, and then we'll move on. Okay, so I have completed my last V of this first section. So I have folded my piece into 2 like so, and I'm going to be working to attach it to this one. So this will become my first underarm section. Okay, so what you're going to do is pick up the other side like so. Make sure it's not twisted, so you just want to fold it in half like this, and then you're going to work your next V right into the center of that V. So I didn't chain or anything else or anything, just worked my last V over here, then moved on to my next V stitch in this panel. So it's two double crochets, chain two, two double crochets, just like we were doing before. 1 and 2. Now chain 3 and repeat what we did over on this side. So we're going from 5 stitches to 6. So skip the first one, move to the second, and work 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. 3 and 4, then 2 in the chain 2 space for a total of 6. Now chain 2 and work the other side, beginning with two double crochets in the chain 2 space, then working 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches to complete the other side. Okay, so go ahead and finish these 2 panels and your last V stitch on this side, and then I'll show you again how to attach the next panel. All right, so keep going, and then I'll meet you right here at the end of this one. Okay, so finishing up this first panel, or this first half, I'm gonna grab my next piece like so and pretty much do the exact same thing. So after my last V stitch on this side, I'm just going to work into the first V stitch on the opposite side. 2 and 2, so 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, then chain 3, and then I'll skip the first stitch and work 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches, 2 in the chain 2 space, chain 2, and repeat. Just the same pattern going all the way around. Okay, so I think you should have the hang of it for the remainder of this round. 1 and 2, chain 2. Okay, so go ahead and work across. Go ahead and work across this panel. So making these 5 stitches into 6 on either side of the chain 2 spaces. Then work your corner V. Then you will connect it to this side. Keep working all the way until you get back to this point, and then I will meet you here. So go straight across, connect this underarm section, go across here, and then when you get to this point, then I'll meet you. Okay, so keep going, and then we'll pick up from there. Okay, so I have worked my way around, well, across, and I'm up to my final, I just worked my final V stitch on this side. So now I will attach it to this part. Okay, so this part is where we began with our chain 3. So I'm just gonna slip stitch into the chain 3 space, and that completes this round. And now all 4 panels are attached. And that was row 17. So for row 18, continuing the same as always, I am going to slip stitch all the way over to the chain 2 space to begin the next round, which would be round 18. So chain 3 and work the first V stitch which is 1 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all in that same space, then chain 3, and our last round we had 6 stitches. Next round, round 18, we will also have 6 stitches. So instead of skipping 1, we'll skip 2. If we skip 1, then we have 5 stitches down here. And if we add 2 in here, that's going to make 7. We're not increasing, so we want to skip 2 and work in the next 4 stitches. Then 2 in the chain 2 space for a total of 6 in this round as well. So that's 2, 3, 4 double crochets in each of those 4 stitches, 2 in the chain 2 space, chain 2, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, then 1 in each of the next 4 stitches for a total of 6 stitches going down on this side. 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now chain 2, skip the last 2 stitches, skip the next 2 stitches on the other side, and in the 3rd stitch work your first double crochet, then 1 in each of the next 3 for a total of 4, then 2 in the chain 2 space to make 6. And you will repeat that all the way around and back to this chain 2 space, this chain 3 space, where you will slip stitch to end this round. So keep going, 6 stitches in each of these points, then chain 3, do your V-stitch, then your next V-stitch. So between the 2 V-stitches of each panel there will not be a chain. So from one V-stitch, hop over and do the next V-stitch. Then continue with your 6 stitches in each of these points. I'm sure you understand what I mean by points. And then your chain 3 V-stitch all the way back around, and I'll meet you at this starting point where we began with the chain 3. So keep going and then we'll pick up from there. Okay, so to begin row 19, we're going to start as usual, slip stitch all the way across to the chain 2 space. And chain 3, 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, then chain 3. Okay, so for row 19 and onwards, we are going to keep 6 stitches. So we had 6 in the previous round, so that's 2 rows of 6 so far. So this is going to be a 3rd row of 6. So the only difference in row 19 and every other round moving forward is for our 6 double crochet count, we're going to skip 1, work 1 double crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to do 1 double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, then 1 double crochet in the chain 2 space. Now 1 double crochet in each of the next 5 stitches for a total of 6. So in every round moving forward, that is how we're going to work our 6 stitches. So we're no longer going to be putting 2 in the chain 2 space. We will only put 1. So we'll work 5 stitches in each stitch of the previous round, then 1 in the chain 2 space, chain 2, 1 in the chain 2 space, 5 in the next 5 stitches going down on this other side, skip the last one, chain 2, skip the first one on the next side, and repeat 1 in each of the next 5, 1 in the chain 2 space for a total of 6, chain 2, repeat. And that will be our pattern moving forward for the complete length of your top. So keep going, following the pattern like I said, and then I guess I'll show you what mine looks like when I'm finished. Okay guys, so I have completed my top. I have done a total of 34 rows, and all that's left to do is just to cut off my tail, weave in all my ends, and that is it. I didn't do any edging around it because I like how it looks on its own, so I decided that's where I'm stopping. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video. Bye!